Okay. Okay, so I'm Emily. I'm one of the dietitians, and I have a new role. I'm bariatric program manager, so that's a little bit different. But Jenny and I are still working together throughout the whole process. But so I'll let Jenny introduce herself, and then we'll kind of get started.
Most of you guys know me, Jenny Prince. That's it. The dietitian. I'm just plain.
That's not it, right? Like she's awesome.
No, she is. I always look forward to this group. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so is this anybody's first group? Yeah, some of you faces. Good. So yeah, you're like, I've been here before. So it's good. It's a good mix, I think, having. Is there anybody pre-surgery first of all, or is everybody post-surgery? Everyone's post-surgery. Okay. So sometimes we get pre-surgery, sometimes we get post-surgery. It's good to have a mix of people, but typically what we like to do, for those of you that are new, kind of just go around the room and introduce ourselves. You can say as much or as little as you want. If you just want to like say your name and pass, that's fine. If you want to share something, anything, that's great. That's awesome. So anybody want to get started? Go ahead.
I'll start. Hi, my name is Rosa, and I'm 1 month out of postpartum.
You want to go? We can
I'm
go.
Amanda. I'm 4 months postop.
My name's Carol. I'm 6 months postpartum.
I'm Lucy, I'm 3 months postdoc. My name is Beth, and I am 4 years postdoc.
Okay.
This is my husband. I'm Willette, and I'm 2 weeks post-op.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
I'm Magdalena and I'm 8 months postop.
I'm Lindsay and I'm 3 months post-op.
Hi, I'm Corey. I am 4 weeks postdoc.
I'm Hazel, and I'm almost 3 years postdoc.
I am Tom. Three months postdoc.
3 months.
Or we come dance up to
You want to sit here on the outside, wherever you'd like.
I'm Mike. I'm 8 weeks post-op, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that your husband comes with you.
There you go. Good support.
You're a good age.
Yeah, right. My name's Russ, and I'm 9 months. My name's Rich, and I'm a year and 6 months, 4 months, 5 months, somewhere in there. year and a little bit.
Good.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and you want to know how long ago? If I've had
They just
surgery?
kind of started.
Yeah, anything.
Okay, I'm 8 months post-op, almost 8 months post-op.
Great. Awesome. How about on the outside?
Calvin, 2 years.
Baby Knot, and I'm 2 months.
I'm Lauren and I'm 6 months post-op.
Awesome. So welcome everyone. For those of you who haven't been before, a lot of what we like to do with this group is kind of start with the topic, and you can see this topic we could probably go on for hours and hours about. But like we like to do a little bit what we want you to do a lot of talking too, just like kind of sharing stories. I think that's the best thing of this group. Those of you that have been before, just sharing stories, bouncing things off of each other, using us if you need us as a resource. That's the whole goal here. The goal is for us not to talk the whole time. You've heard us talk a lot. So you get your chance to talk a little bit and support each other. So I think this is the first year we've ever done this topic. But I think it's an important one. I think the more that we get involved in social media, and I think we hear it day to day, like, oh, I felt like I was doing good, and then I saw this TikTok, and this person lost 100 pounds. I thought 40 pounds was good. And so we just kind of wanted to talk about that. I think there's good in social media, right? I think there's a lot of positives, but I think there's also negatives, and so just kind of wanted to look at that and everybody kind of share their perspective and what we could do to hopefully improve people's experience, or maybe just take a different mindset about how we do things with social media. So I thought we'd kind of start off with statistics first. I'm kind of a statistics person. I kind of like to see these things. So this is according to the Pew Research Center. This is 69% of adults and 81% of teens in the U.S. have social media. So obviously we know that a lot of teenagers have social media. That's what they're growing up on. But I'm targeting more so adults, right? That's us, right? So that's almost 70% of the adults in America have social media, right? So some sort of social media that can be. I think Facebook was the leading one. Instagram was close. Twitter was further down than I thought it would be. Snapchat was moving its way up, so those popular forums were there. So I looked at a couple different studies. This one was out of McLean Hospital, and so they looked at kind of what social media can do, and they said social media has a reinforcing nature. Using it activates the brain's reward center by releasing dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical linked to pleasurable activities such as sex, food, social interaction. And so what they were saying is these platforms can be designed to be addictive and associated with anxiety, depression, and even physical ailments. So it was a little bit of one of those where they were looking at things like, oh, this isn't so good, right? And I think we can all identify with that dopamine response. We talk about that a lot, I think, as related to food. It's that pleasure sense, and so we like seeing some of those things, right? And food can do the same thing. The other one I looked at was from Harvard, and they found a unique kind of opposite thing, which is where they found routine social media use, for example, using social media as part of everyday routine, responding to content that others share, is positively associated with social well-being, positive mental health, and self-related health. So they looked at it from a different perspective. From that same study, they said that the emotional connection to social media, for example, checking apps excessively out of fear or missing out, being disappointed about or feeling disconnected from friends, when not logged into social media, is negatively associated with social well-being, positive mental health, and self-related health. So as you can see, research is kind of everywhere with this, and I just thought, okay, let's kind of just talk about how much do you guys feel like you're on social media? Anybody want to share that?
Well, I mean, I think I probably spend more time than I should on social media, and by that I just mean certainly there are things that I ignore and don't do. You know, it's the middle of summertime, I've got a nice pool out in the backyard, things like that, and I'll just check my Facebook account for a second, and then before I know it, I'm watching videos of sad dogs getting adopted in the pound, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my 45 minutes is gone. Which, and I feel great, but it's not great for my body. And it seems to me like it's like anything else that involves dopamine. It's all about quantity, right? Like you just everything in moderation is okay, and it's just hard to moderate watching videos of sad dogs getting adopted on, TikTok, because it's great.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get sucked in. Anybody feel like that?
Oh yes, I get sucked in all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, what about surgery related? Do you feel like you get sucked into different things like that too? Like, I hear TikTok a lot. I heard it probably 5 times today. Like kind of watching different things. So are any of you all like influencers? I think that's what they're called.
I'm definitely not an influencer, but I can say I have been on TikTok, just searching like bariatric sleep, just to see what people were eating, because it seems like every surgeon is different, right, on what they say you should eat during that phase 2 and phase 3. Because I'm like, oh, what they're eating in phase 2 is not what I'm eating in phase 2, or what they're eating in phase 3 is not what I'm eating in phase 3. So just that difference, and then just seeing that there are like other alternatives that are out there that maybe just, again, we aren't exposed to. So that was nice, because I don't know about you guys. I mean, again, I'm 1 month in, and I'm so tired of like protein shakes. So I'm like, I need something different than a protein shake. So I was like,
so I think with you saying that, I think that's one of the positive things, right? That can be a positive and a negative, because I think like one of the things that Jenny always says is like a clinician doesn't necessarily oversee that. So sometimes nationwide programs are very different. I mean, there's guidelines, and then there's how your program runs it, right? And so we try to be pretty uniform as far as our program goes. Like Jenny and I teaching the same thing, our surgeons on board with the same thing. But nationwide, that can be different, like you said. So I think you can look at that in 2 ways. I think you can look at that as they're giving me, like, I have some different options. That's a positive. But then there's other things where it's like, does it bother me that they can have things that I can't have things? And so that's where you kind of get that feeling of like remorse a little bit too. So yeah, I think again that's a positive versus a negative of those two. So, she's right. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Yep.
I think that could be kind of challenging too, because it feeds into that, that lifelong diet thing of always looking for the workaround. You know what I mean? And you're looking at these things, and so, you know, you're a few weeks out of surgery and if you are already kind of going down the path of starting to look for what you can do differently from what you're told to do, I think that can be a huge challenge to your progress. You know,
Yes.
it's hard. Those first few weeks are so difficult just mentally, not, you know, physically of course, but mentally are so challenging that having all these options like out there right in front of you and being able to access them at any time, I think can really mess with your mental well-being as you're recovering from your surgery too.
Anybody like felt really good about their progress and then they look at something online and they're like, well, I'm not doing very good? Anybody feel like that? Yeah. I think that's what we hear most
Tell the
often.
story today.
I mean, I joined this group supposedly, and I was reading, there were so many negative comments, and then this guy said that he had been in it for 90 days and he'd lost, 6 months, and he'd lost 100 pounds. I said, wow, he was really doing good. And then I read a little bit farther down, and somebody said he was lying. They knew him, and there's no way he had lost 100 pounds. So you can't believe what you read on that group.
That's right.
So I think that's a really good point too. I think you definitely have to look at it and say, okay, even if it was truthful, I'd always challenge people to go a little bit further and say, do you think it's that healthy though, that person, like, you don't know about that person, so it's not like a sprint to a certain number. It's where can you live and be happy long term, right? Because I think the battle for any of you that are a little bit further out is actually maintaining weight, right? There's definitely battles along the way. Weight loss is very, very challenging, but I would go a little step further and say maintenance is probably even more challenging.
Yeah.
So I think finding that happy median in the two is tough. Yeah.
One of the things, piggybacking on what he said, and it was kind of evolved over time. I was like you, bored to death with phase 1 and phase 2, and looking forward to phase 3, and then doing the searches to find out what other programs allowed. That was not a good place to be for me anyway. And I was by the book as much as I could be by the book, because I wanted to be. I didn't. If I was going to fail, it wasn't going to be my fault. I was going to be in a program that failed. So that kind of helped me there. But piggybacking on what he said, I have a real competitive nature, and I would look and see and hear stories, even in here, of shorter times than me losing more weight than me. And it's like, well, what? And I mean, we kind of understand that everybody has their own journey, but something the newsletter quoted, and Nikki said this last, comparison is a thief of joy.
Joy, yeah. Perfect.
And that really, I was hoping she was here tonight, but I appreciated that, and that really helped me try not to do that comparison. Because I encourage everybody else in that it is your own journey. Everybody's got different bodies, everybody's got different goals, everybody's got different life cycles, life that they're living. Be careful what you judge and how you compare yourself.
Sure.
I think that's the danger of social media, because I think what it does is it lumps everybody together. And we all had the surgery, we all had, the same beginning. Now I got in trouble at the beginning too, because I was watching all the horror stories of the surgery, and anyway, that's another section. But when you lump everything together, you expect the same result. And it is an individual process. It is it's my journey. And what I've experienced may or may not be what anyone else does. So,
sure.
And so social media, it's easy to do that because you're just in that one Facebook page or whatever you have, and everybody's the same. You're just a name on the screen.
Yeah.
And we're not.
Right.
We're not the same.
And I think one thing that was pointed out this morning, I had this conversation about this guy that lost 100 pounds, and she brought it to my attention that says, you know, we don't know what their starting weight was. They may have been 500, 600, 700 pounds, and for them to lose 100 pounds in 6 months is highly likely.
That's right.
That's a comparison.
Yeah.
And I like what Mr. Fisher said about, you know, we're all different. We might, you know, people might have had the same surgery, but no one has the same household. No one has the same spouse, the same roommates, you know, the
There's a chair.
same physical capability to exercise. Some of you guys were athletes in the past and quickly got back into a lot of exercise. Some of you are just you know, trying to get back to the gym. Some people have other health problems that are, you know, extremely challenging, along with trying to lose weight. And so there's so many millions of other factors going.
You just don't know what other people are going through.
You don't know.
And I think we have all this negative self-talk already, right? And so we're doing this great thing to change our lives, and so our negative self-talk has to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? And so I feel like for myself, I had to retrain myself to not compare, because I mean, think about it, like we're different genders, we're different ages, we have different medical issues, we've had different lives. I mean, everything about every one of us is different, so I don't understand how the medical community, even how they work together to compare us to do this surgery safely and do all these things. Like, that's a tremendous job. Like, how am I gonna, you know what I mean? How am I gonna do that? But yeah, I think it is. It's part of what we've always done, right? Why doesn't this diet work for me and it works for so-and-so and all those other things? So we're kind of applying the same logic to this next situation, and the trick is to teach yourself to, again, not have that negative self-talk, which I'm not going to say I'm 100% perfect at it, but 4 years in, I feel like I'm a lot better.
That's part of the evolution, I think. It's learning.
It is, you know, and yeah, and it's exactly, and it's not that it's not still a battle, but I don't compare myself the way that I used to, even with the successes and lack thereof that I've had anymore. But it takes time, you know.
Sure. How about positive things that come from, like, what have you guys experienced have been, like, positive things that have come from social media, would you say?
Family.
Family?
Yeah, when you sit there and you like post something like, okay, I met a girl, and what you'll do is, I like my family, like, they give me nothing but positive feedback.
Sure.
And everything else.
That's awesome.
They don't sit there and say, well, you could do more. No, they sit there and, what might go out great, they give me the positive, and they don't, and stuff, so.
Good.
That's why this is part of my family.
Good. Very good.
I got family all the way from Washington State in California. I
Great.
put so everything out on Facebook, everything else, nothing but positive.
That's fantastic. Anybody else have a good support system online or anything?
When I first started losing the weight, friends of mine from high school started contacting me about wanting to know what I've been doing, and they've been supporting me.
Sure.
And unfortunately, not unfortunately, I have been also encouraging them, because one's going through the same situation, and in November, her surgery.
Good.
So we've been talking, you know, so I've been kind of encouraging some of those who think reaching out to me.
That's great.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good platform too, is like that you can be that. So it's much different than like joining a group and not knowing anybody versus being that person that could share your story and inspire somebody else. So I think that's the really cool part of social media. I think here, as I was thinking through this, and if you guys are on our Facebook or on Instagram, always looking for things that are encouraging. And I think sometimes that when we always do a Wowless Wednesday, right? And well, we always try to, right? And so some people want to share a story and some people don't. And it doesn't mean that if we haven't approached you about it that we don't want you to. We do. We want everyone to share their story, right? Because personally, anybody that's ever gone through this is successful in my eyes. Weight does not define your success at all, right? And so, but I was thinking about it and I was like, I hope people look at that as that's something encouraging and that's something inspiring, because that's certainly what we're going for. But then I started thinking about that comparison thing too, right? So, and Nikki that was a great thing that I shared that with the entire staff when she said comparison is the thief of joy, because it's true, right? So I think even through, like I said, through our social media, we're trying to make it a positive, encouraging platform for other people. But it did make me think more about that, you know, because that's what we're always trying to do. But that's not always. I don't know if that's perceived that way, you know. And so just always, because I think it's easy on social media too. You post, like, even personally, right? You post all these fancy pictures of yourself and your kids, your family, and all these things, and then, like, nobody really sees how that is at home, right? And so it's just easy to get caught up in that. So I think it's encouraging from that standpoint. Just to be able to share your story, be that person that would share their story, and so that you can motivate other people and share stories with other people. So, anybody else have any positive feedback about social media? Has it helped, like, with recipes and things like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that can be a positive sometimes. I think early on, what you're going through, everybody can probably relate. I think as you get further out, some of those things can be nice. Some of them not. They need filtered still, right? Some people are still following a lot of fad diets after surgery. So Jenny and I appreciate, like, filtering those out. But there's certainly some good stuff on there. Just some different ways to do things, and I think those are encouraging things that people share.
I think it's like anything else, but you do have to filter it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see things that make you feel bad, you have to revisit your own successes. Like, well, and just to share this, my mom had bariatric surgery about 15 years ago, and she lost 120 pounds, which she has kept off for all that time. But my experience is a little bit different. I've lost a little bit less weight than her, but in the beginning, that was a little bit challenging, right? Because I was losing weight slower and doing those kind of things, but I felt so good. And I really just tried to focus on that, and that really helped me. It helped me to understand that, just because she's my mom, I mean, this is not someone I'm just seeing on social media. This is my actual mom, So I wanted those same results, but we're different people. We were at different ages, when we had those things. Again, different medical conditions, different stuff. And it helped me to, different surgeries, exactly, and it helped me to kind of find my joy in my own successes, and she was so supportive and is still always so supportive about it. But, that was, I was very negative in my head about that when my weight loss started to slow down. But, I feel fantastic, and I'm completely happy with my results, so.
Any other things about social media that anybody wants to share?
I feel like there's a lot of information out there now.
Yeah.
So you can actually, like, set your realistic expectations. Where, like, maybe 15 years ago there weren't people documenting it, and it's so accessible as it is now. And that's where I've got a lot of information. Of course, you fact check it and everything. Not everything's correct, but
Sure.
I feel like there's a lot of information now, and I feel like that's very beneficial.
I would agree. There's tons of stuff out there you can get. I mean, good and bad, right?
Yep.
But if you filter and use any advice, obviously, I think it can be super helpful, and I think it can help people through just challenging times. My mom actually had surgery 21 years ago, and I will tell you that she had surgery and, like, walked out and had to figure out everything on her own. There was not a dietitian. You only went back to your surgeon if you had a surgical problem. Like, that's kind of how it was back then. And so even thinking about social media 20 years ago, I mean, it wasn't even there, And so I remember she used to physically go to, like, support groups like this. She used to drive about 40 minutes from home and go to those. And so, I think resources have come a long way, and so that is the advantage of, our age now.
Yeah, because it's not all just individual people either. It's bariatric centers and things like that you can follow and get that information from, where you know it's legit.
And that's the thing too, is, like I said, every center is different, but there's so many things that are very similar in that process. There may be some things that in this stage we didn't allow versus that stage they allowed, but the long-term goal of any center is that we can live this moderation lifestyle, I think, right? Like, that we're not in this fad dieting mode, and that we're comfortable just kind of figuring out our diet and our lifestyle and having those all very similar, I think. Yeah. Do well.
So does this center or Lexington or the obesity center, do they not have a local group that's online that we could go to for support between these meetings?
So we have a Facebook and an Instagram through us, through South Carolina Obesity Surgery Center. We have that. So that's just, we post daily on there. So, I mean, people can ask questions or comment on those things. It's not like a board that is open for people to like have conversation, and that's per the hospital. But you can comment on things. So if you wanted to comment on a thread or things like that, you can do those things.
And that's on Facebook?
Facebook and Instagram. So on Facebook, it's SC Obesity Surgery Center. And on Instagram, it's at SC Obesity. No, I'm sorry. It's at SC_obesity.
What was it on Facebook?
South Carolina Obesity Surgery Center.
Okay.
It'll show up. You'll see it. And then if you look, actually, like, you'll see that the post also posts on Instagram.
I thought the Facebook one. What's the Instagram again?
Instagram's at SC_obesity.
Another thing that I've heard patients talk about that is in the positive is seeing other patients do like physical activity things, like see them be able to run, or I just walked 2 miles and now I'm jogging and watching people do that. Have you seen that before? It's very, very encouraging, to see people's progress. Yeah.
That's one thing I've had negative against on Facebook. And, trying to, update what's going on with me. And I have stopped posting about my successes. And, and as of Sunday, I'm down 101 pounds.
Great.
Anything else won't get there, but it kind of melted away from me. But then also, but I've had a lot of negative back at me.
Really?
For losing so much weight so fast, or and just even the exercises that I do, I'm walking every day. So
really, people have negative comments about that.
Yeah, so I've stopped posting. So I want to update this, but
yeah.
I found I'm interested. I'm glad you said that, because I shy away from sharing my story for that reason. I had a daughter that had the sleeve surgeries 2 or 3 years ago. Did great, had a baby, gained it all back. Then COVID, the gym where she was going shut down, so she's struggling right now. But I look back at some of the things that were her friends and her people that really had negative things to say, took the easy way out. We all know that's, how many so when I entered this phase, I only tell the close people in my life. And I think that's unfortunate, because there is some benefit, there could be some benefit to sharing your story on Facebook, I think. But they see I'm not shy away from posting progress pictures, and people see it and say, "We're great, what are you doing?" "Oh, I've made some lifestyle changes." That's really all I tell them.
You tell them what?
I've made some lifestyle changes.
Oh, okay.
It's none of their business. So I'm curious of other people's perspective on that, because I don't know if I'm the only one that has had that negative thought about, I don't really want to it's like applying for a job. You're at the mercy of somebody else and their opinions of you.
I think it also goes on, you choose who you decide to share with. Like when I first started the program, I had talked to my mom about it, and she just didn't have a lot to say that was encouraging, so I don't speak to her about it. She sees like my progress that I post and everything, but that's just not something we don't bring up together. So like my sister has had the surgery, my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, like one of my best friends, and you just choose the people that you want to talk to about it. And I think that helps also block out the negativity. And also, like, I have seen people in my life that have had the surgery, but they go on and they're like, oh well, I've lost weight this way and this way, and then like months down the road, they're like, oh yeah, I did have surgery, I didn't do it, you know, like it wasn't just this. And with me, I want to be real about it, so that's why I post about it. Like, yes, I did have the surgery, or when I post a picture, like, I can finally fit into a medium shirt. I've worn a 3X, like, for however long. I can finally fit into a medium shirt. And people are like, oh, how'd you do it? And I'm just quick, like, I started the program in June of last year, had my surgery in November, and, you know, like, for me personally, like, I just want to be real about it, but you just also have to choose, like, who you speak to about it.
And realize people are gonna say things.
Yeah.
On social media that they're not gonna say to your face.
Right.
Yeah. You know, so you've got to filter that out, you know.
Is that a fear of judgment of somebody, or fear of what they're gonna say? I mean, it seems a little insecure, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, I'm the same way. I didn't tell anybody, and I mean, my husband knew about it, and I didn't want to tell my mother. She just happened to come over one day, and somebody was like, "Oh, she's at the hospital." I'm like, "Damn
I had to come that day.
So therefore, she knew about it. But I think the struggle in my mind too is just like, I don't want to fail, right? I don't want to fail at this.
Yeah.
So that's why I just didn't want to tell anybody about it. That's the one thing. You just don't want to fail. And so that's how I like kept myself accountable. If I just keep it into myself, I don't have to be accountable to anybody else but myself, and nobody has to know what my journey is, which is a little, right, like, it's probably not the best thought process, and I'm working on that, right? Like, I don't want to tell anybody.
That's exactly it.
Right? I just want to be accountable for myself. And then also dealing with, now that my mother knows, she's like, are you still sticking to your program? Like, I don't, like, you know, that's what I don't need. Are you still sticking to your program?
Yeah.
Good job. I'm like, no, that's not the way that I need to be encouraged. Like, just let me do this on my own, and then I'll give you updates as I go along.
Yeah.
And the more comfortable I feel, then I'll share what I'm going through. But yeah, no one knew for me, like, no one that I work with, not even my closest friends, know that I have gone
told my
through
boss,
this.
and that's the
Yeah,
only person that worked
I
it out.
didn't even do that. Because again, you're in and out. I mean, I had the sleeve surgery, so you're in and out within a day. I mean, I was up and walking the next day and still being able to function. So I mean, I could still, you know, go to work pretty easily and stuff.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you find that you like it when people don't say anything or don't notice?
You know, I don't even know. Like, my husband has said, like, oh, I can tell a difference.
No, I mean,
and I'm like,
the average person out, you know,
I haven't, because I work from home, like, no one has really seen me except for, like, my immediate family.
Oh, okay.
Now, I do have to take a trip in a couple of weeks, so, and that will be right at, like, the 6-week mark, so maybe somebody will see a difference, but I don't know if they
because
will.
I actually like people not noticing. I'd rather them just treat me like they see me every day. You know, I don't want it to be a conversation piece.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoy it when people, I appreciate when people notice. I don't make a big deal out of it. I say thank you, and that's, I'm glad somebody recognizes.
There is a change.
That there's an effort.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that they recognize that there is, you know, and I had funny, I don't know if it's funny or good or not, I guess. Took my truck in for service where I bought my truck back almost 2 years now. And I saw a salesman, and he said, he looked at me and he said, you lost weight. He said, what's different? What's different? I said, well, about 130 pounds. And he said, he looked at me kind of cross-eyed, he said, intentionally?
Intentionally, yeah. How do you respond to that? Like, what does that mean?
I said, yes. You know, and we kind of changed the subject, but I thought, that's pretty, did I look sick? I mean,
Right.
I don't know. That was probably the oddest experience of that.
You don't look sick to me.
So,
You don't look sick to
but
me.
adding on to that though, I think like when people see you a certain way for so long and you have something like that, their first reaction is to think that you are sick.
Yeah.
And then, but then it's like all how it plays in your head too.
Sure.
Because I remember my mom going through this. People were like, "Oh, you're too skinny." She was like normal size, right? Like, she was like a normal BMI technically, which I don't love a BMI, but she was normal BMI, so she was categorizing that normal. But everyone's like, "You look really sick. What's wrong with you?" And then I think I started to play like a toll on her mental, on her mental status because people were so used to her looking one way, and then when she was, like I said, in that normal range, medically she was good, and personally she felt good. But then all of a sudden, that wasn't a compliment anymore. To tell you that you look sick or you need to gain weight or things like that. Those are those hard comments, I think, and so I think it's all in how you would deal with comments like that, right? So it wasn't good for my mom, and I think it wouldn't be good in some situations. But then other people would just be like, whatever, I don't care, right? Like I don't. So I think that's about sharing your story too. Is like some people would be like, I don't care what anybody says, so I can share my story with anybody. And then other people would say, it does bother me when people say things, so I really don't want to share this with people that I don't think are going to be supportive of that.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's all in kind of how you interpret that, and that's why it's everybody's adventure and everyone's journey too, because if you share it with somebody and they're real negative and that's going to bring you down, it's not the best thing. So.
I have a question. I know it's only been like 2.5 months, so we're going into 3. And I notice I have this one person, when I come to work, they always say, don't lose no more. You look okay. I mean, don't lose no more. You look okay. Don't lose no more. Every time she see me, she's like, don't lose no more. You look okay. That irritates me.
Yeah, so I understandably. So pre-surgery, I always talk about how relationships can change, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody could tell you they're going to be really supportive of you, but then you lose some weight and all of a sudden that dynamic changes. Maybe they start to get a little bit jealous of your progress. Maybe they're starting to notice some differences. Maybe you're getting a little bit more attention than they are, whatever it is, but there's something bothering that person about your progress. So I think in those situations,
and they small.
It's really sweet. I really didn't. We have an 18-year-old son, and really didn't say much to him, I think, until the night before my surgery. And I said, well, you realize I'm going to be having surgery tomorrow morning? He says, well, is it another eye surgery? Because I've had several. And I said, well, no. And I explained to him what it was. And he just looked at me, and he says, that means you're going to lose weight? I said, yes. And he got this look on his face and kind of pouted. And I'm like, what? I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to be happier. And he says, but your hugs are going to be different.
Oh.
Yeah, and this was from my 18-year-old son. Yeah. Because he was so used to, he calls them my fluffy hugs. And he was just heartbroken that he said, well, your hugs are going to be different. So, but that was
that's a sweet kind of negativity.
Yes, that's the sweet kind. That is the sweet kind. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd like to go back to one of the things he said that's really sticking in my mind, and I got to know, the person who told you you took the easy way out, was it a friend of yours?
Nobody's ever said that to me.
Oh.
I heard perceptions of my daughter when she had the surgery. It was probably social media, again on Facebook. People talking, she shared it, or it got out, or however, I don't know, but it was by a supposed friend.
Yeah.
And like you said, relationships change, whether it's jealousy, whether it's...
Yeah, I think that's a big part, jealousy.
And if anybody, and I think we may be straying a little far from the topic here, but I think there still is general ignorance of this procedure.
There's a stigma there.
There's a stigma attached to it.
Sure.
As the easy way or lazy way or whatever you want to call it. They don't. The perception of, or the understanding of how much internal work it takes to do this there's no awareness of that.
Sure.
Self-esteem, the surgery. If you tell somebody you have surgery, that explains it all. They don't want to hear about your struggle, your journey. That explains it. You took the easy way out. They don't necessarily say it, But you can see, because they're very dismissive after the fact that you're telling you that surgery.
Oh, yeah,
My
100%.
experience is like something like what you just said. Like, I was at a grocery store. The cashier knew I was fixing to have surgery. And she was asking me how things are going, everything else, being her to have a good rapport. Just so happens the person in line with me was a nurse. She proceeded to tell me, why can't you do it the right way? Can't you follow the diet? Can't you do this? Can't you do that? And then she proceeded to walk all the way up to my shopping cart, look in it, to see what I had. And I'm like, and she kept going on and on about what and everything else. And then the whole time in my life, I turned her and said, shut up. I said there, and the lady cashier was like, where she thinks she comes? You don't know you. I said, I don't know her.
She didn't
Well,
even
she
know
said
you.
had to give me her opinion.
Wow.
Hi, back here.
Yeah, I feel that most of this also is for health reasons. You know,
Yes.
people don't understand, you know, everybody is not built alike.
Right.
Yeah.
When you go through this, most of the time it's not for, to make yourself look good, but it's for your health also.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's where the education piece comes in too. A lot of people just jump to a conclusion that you did this for vanity. They don't know anything about you. They don't know any, like, you know, they don't know that you had diabetes or hypertension, or they don't know those things, and they don't try to know those things. They form judgment before they would ever know those things, and so.
It goes right back to my comment earlier. It's an individual decision.
Sure.
And so when I have people approach me that way, I say, you know what? It may not be right for you. And it probably isn't if you've got that kind of an attitude, because it's a long process to get from I'm going to do it
Yeah.
to surgery day.
Absolutely.
Which is why we have to hop through all those hoops and everything. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure it is the right decision.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And so it's this is my process. Not that we don't support each other and we get the support from the spouse or whatever that comes from, but someone said to me one time, you go to the gym how many times a week? I'm in the gym 4 times a week and ride my bike 30 miles every time I'm in there. Why do you do that? Because that's what I need to do. If I don't do that, then I'm not doing what's right for Rich. I'm doing what's right, what your little paper says I should be doing.
Right.
or
Right.
whatever that is. So anyway, it just circles right back to, nope, this was right for me. I went through the 4 years of trying to decide, should I do this, should I not do this, should I do this? Look at all the Facebook. It has to come down to your individual decision.
And I think too, just kind of piggybacking on what you were saying, is before surgery we talk a lot about a support system or people there to support you. This is the reason, right?
That's right.
Because if not, you feel like you're on an island by yourself.
That's right.
Right? No matter what, you're going to face some negativity probably somewhere in your journey, but if you're facing it at home or with the people that are, love you the most, like that is the most difficult thing, I think, long term for people. So that is the reason that you go through. There's such a rigorous process that you all went through to have surgery, right? Some of that's insurance and some of that's program, but the goal there is that you're as prepped and as ready for every part of it. It's a whole lot more than just like, hey, clean up your diet, or hey, your stomach's gonna change, right? So there's a whole lot more than that, and that's why that support piece I think is so big, which is the same reason we have a support group here once a month, right? Because we recognize that you have to have something.
That's right.
I mean, you have something.
Can you imagine going out to dinner with somebody, you say as couple, you go out to dinner with someone who didn't have the surgery, and your partner, you're sitting there eating, and you're eating, right? And you're saying, wow, you're not going to eat all that.
Yeah.
No, this is all I need, this is all I want.
Right.
And you wonder as to why she's not eating.
I don't answer them.
Yeah.
If they, when we go out and stuff, and whether it's family or not, I feel that, because it's a medical condition for myself.
Sure.
Myself and my husband are the only ones that need to know. Besides, I told my mother and my father the day before I went to surgery, but other than that, if they hear it down the grapevine, that's what they heard, but I'm not gonna confirm it or deny it.
Sure.
You know, and I feel that because of the HIPAA law, I don't have to tell anybody about my medical condition.
Absolutely. Very true.
So everybody in here that went through that, I'm so proud of you guys. And when I see you out there, it's like, wow, it's great.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah.
It takes courage, like he said. It takes courage.
And it's worked forever too. That's the thing; it never ends. You know, there's different periods through it all, but it never ends.
I don't know if that, y'all probably got that little card from the doctor, you know, about having a small portion, you know, and so forth. How many of you actually use it?
I don't.
I've used it.
I used it once.
I always used
it. Never again.
And you know, it was like, it took me a while to get used to that because, you know, we would look at it. Yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Look back at you after they look at your card.
yeah. And
Oh
then
my God.
afterwards, it's like now it just comes out automatically. We go out to dinner and I just hand them that, you know, and they're like, oh, okay, you know, like no problem. But it took a while for me to get used to that.
We can share our plate because we will say,
Where were you gonna say, Miss Jackson? You were gonna share some.
As far as the poll system, my whole church knows about, you know, me having the surgery. They are there, and my family. They are very supportive. They knew how medically, what condition I was in before I went through the process to have the surgery, and they see me now. Some of them even pick at me like, "Man, you walking fast." my nephew and them, they would say, "We can't catch up with you, Ann. Where you going? Hold up." And I mean, I've got a real good support system. Even when they see that I'm going through, some of y'all might know that I do have some medical challenges with my stomach. But even when they know about that, but they still are very supportive of me doing what I did and how I'm doing, and they're very helpful. They don't, when we having a function at the church or something, they don't offer me anything that they know that I'm not supposed to have.
And why is that? Did you tell them don't push food on me? Did you let them know that?
No, I didn't. I didn't tell them. I just told them there. I told them I can't have sweets.
Okay.
I told them. I did tell them that. So when we have something, they will. You know, we have cakes and stuff, but they will not offer me any.
Yeah.
There are a couple of them will fix something. Dessert wise, that they know that I'll be able to eat.
Right.
And I appreciate that of them. Yeah. And my niece is kind of worried. She said, "Now I know some people that had this surgery and they gained the weight or some died." I said, "Don't die here."
That's what I've heard so many times.
I'm not dying. I'm not going to go back. I said I went through too much to turn back right now. So, I mean, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, we have a few more minutes to wrap up. Does anybody have any more questions, comments?
I have something good to share.
Yeah, great.
I walked fast. Like I went walking and I was walking fast, but I got to where I was going faster because there's less of me. And I was
We'll celebrate that all day long.
I noticed like with every footstep I was taking, I'm like, I'm going up a little higher than I usually do, and it's because I was used to putting forth more effort. And
You have to relearn to walk.
yes, I am having to. Yeah.
Well, your sense of balance and your center of gravity changes as you lose weight.
I have a non-scale victory. I'm sorry, did I?
No, go.
My wife and I don't fly very often, but we flew to Vermont last week, and this was the first time since surgery that I sat in the seat on that airplane and it went click. Oh, I gotta do it again. So, 3 or 4 times. Poor flight attendant had to. Yeah, right. That's another. But we took a picture and everything. It was great.
So I think what we're talking about is to kind of wrap it up too is just those are the things that you want to think about, especially when you're thinking about when you feel a little bit down, whether it's a social media thing or whatever it is. But I always say, one of the things I always say is keep a bucket list. Name the things that you want to do and check them off. And when you feel like you're in a bit of a slump, just look back at that list, right? I can cross my legs. I can buckle the seatbelt on an airplane. I don't need an extender. I don't need another. You know, all these things, right?
Can I share one more?
Yeah.
It's huge. My husband and I went on a picnic, and I was actually able to sit like this. I haven't been able to do that in years.
So I think those are super important things that we overlook sometimes because we do just kind of get in that zone of comparing ourselves or thinking. I don't know if I've ever seen a patient that came in and said they weren't like somewhat sad at some point in their journey. I thought I would have lost more by now or something, you know, like just again the comparison thing. But we know that, but then you have to start looking at all of these things that you can do and say, and like I said, I always challenge to look much further down the road is maintenance. Our long-term goal is, can you maintain your lifestyle 3, 5, 7, 10, right? Because we didn't just have surgery to lose all the weight in a year. Right?
That's right.
So you just think big picture about these things. But yeah. My social media challenge is off of one of these research sites. I kind of liked what they did. They did a study, and they took 2 groups. But basically what they did is they limited access between the 2 groups. So it was like this group had 2 hours of time total in a day, and this one had 4. And so they had to also record like how they felt afterwards on a 0 to 10 scale. I thought that was kind of interesting to kind of look at how do you feel? Like, do you feel really anxious and depressed, or do you feel really good when you get off social media? And if you feel really anxious and depressed, maybe you need to limit some of that time, right? Or maybe you need to change what type of social media you're looking at, right? So, like a food diary or anything else, it's accountability for what you're doing. So, just kind of something, a little activity that I thought was pretty neat. They had some good results on the research from it. So, thank y'all so much for coming. This was an awesome group. Hopefully, those that tuned in online got better quality. We'll try not to have so many cords next time. Thank y'all so much.
When's the next group again?
September 6th. So I do want to say that's good. It is the day after Labor Day.
It's the first Tuesday of every month.
Still, some people get confused about that, but it is. We will be closed on Monday, and we will be here all day. And I will post that on social media.